Okay, so this is a 2007 Yamaha VStar 1300cc. What we are doing today is to replace the coolant. This is not air cooled, this is liquid cooled. That means just like a car, it has a radiator. How you do it is that first thing you have to take the seat off. You can see that seat is off. After the seat is off, there are two bolts right there, two nut. You took those two to bolt out, and once you take that out, you see this the fuel tank gets loosened up, and it has a wire that you have to disconnect right here. You see that wire goes in here. It's like a fuel sensor wire, I think. Once you disconnect the wire, you just move it a little bit forward and back and wiggle it sideways, and then it'll come off, right? Once it come off, you have to move it a little bit back, because you cannot take it completely off, because there are some fuel lines that are still hooked up, and I don't want to take the whole tank off. You see there are some fuel lines, gas lines, that are still hooked up. So all you have to do is slide a little bit back like that, and once you slide it back, you can see the radiator right there. You see right there, that is the radiator cap. The cap is here, right there. I took the radiator cap off right there. Okay, once you can, because the tank is on top of, when this tank is set up right, you cannot take the cap off. That's the reason you have to take the bolt off to move the tank a little bit back, so that it will have enough room for you to take the radiator cap off, because that's where you have to fill the coolant. Okay, and then after that, there is a radiator right there. There are two nuts on the top right there that you have to take it off, because that's the shroud. You see the shroud right there? That shroud grows like that. Once you take those two nuts off, the shroud comes off. Once the shroud is off, there is the coolant. There is a drain nut. You see, there is the one we can drain the coolant right there. You see the coolant coming out? That's where you drain the coolant. Okay, all right, so that is the drain valve. That is it. And then another thing you have to take out is the overflow. So the coolant overflow is here on the right side of the bag. You see right there, it is usually covered. It's usually covered by this plate. You see that plate? You take the plate off, and right there, and see the nuts. It's a small Allen nut, and one of the Allen nut was actually, the thread was messed up, so I had to drill a hole a little bit deeper, and then kind of pinch it with a little drill bit and a little flathead with the drill, and take it out that way. I'll have to replace another nut for that. All right, so that is it. And the reason you want to take the coolant, open this area, is because the coolant tank is here, and you have to empty it out, because it has old coolant. What I'm going to do is today I'm going to flush it. I'm going to flush it with vinegar and distilled water. I have RO water, which I use for drinking. I make my own purified water, so I'm going to use RO water to mix it up with. So half a gallon of vinegar and half a gallon of RO water should be enough for it to get cleaned out, and you run it for a few minutes. Okay, so how the process works is that first we'll warm the water like a little bit, just a little bit. Make sure we took the cap of the radiator, so it should not pressure up too much. The reason we are going to crank up for a minute or so is for the coolant to get warmed up and the engine to open. When the engine's valve open, the thermostat valve open, the coolant should drain out much more easily through the engine and all the way down from the radiator into the pan. So once that is done, I'm going to drain this out with a suction pump, or I'm just going to put more coolant. The more coolant comes, the overflow will get filled, and then it will also, since that cap is off, I expect it to drain out. If not, I will use a suction something to like that. See that? I can use that to suction it out, so that overflow right there, coolant overflow will be also empty. Right, you could empty all the coolant out, old one, and then replace the new one. The new coolant I got is this one right there, and that's the vinegar. I already mixed vinegar, half a gallon of vinegar, half a gallon of sorry, yeah, it's not it's 3.6 quarts here, 3.6 ounce. Okay, so 2 liter, 3.6 ounce here. So I mixed already half and half distilled water or RO water and half vinegar. And then once you run this for a few minutes, it should be good, and you flush it out with clean water. So first you warm the engine up just a little bit, so coolant will come out. All the coolant has to come out, and then we use this mixture of vinegar, half and half of vinegar and distilled water or RO water, run it through the system. We gotta close the radiator during that time because we're going to run it longer. Okay, and it will build up air. So when it builds up air, you can make sure the air gets released properly, and you can squeeze the hoses a little bit. There are some hoses that kind of runs through underneath and on the top. We can squeeze the hoses to make sure. You see the hose right there, that hose we can squeeze, make sure the air comes out, because it can trap air, and then that way the coolant and everything can be fresh, refilled. Okay, let's go for it. I'm going to warm up the motorcycle a little bit, so that this is just to flush the coolant, the old coolant out. Some gas. The gas is low, which is good because I want it to be less gas when I'm working on it. coming up. You see, that means it's getting warm. The engine is getting warm, you see. I'm going to turn it off and then I think I can drain it now. Okay, it's off now, so I'm going to drain it so that all the coolant comes out. You see how the coolant came up a little bit? That means it's warm. The coolant is warm and engine is warm. All right. Just open it up. Chicken, what are you doing here? What are you doing here, chicken? Since the cap is off, cap is taken out, it'll come pretty fast. So you have to make sure you slowly open it. You don't want to for the coolant to just splash all over the place. You can feel it's a little warm. It's not hot, which is what you want. You don't want it to be burning your hands. Yeah, the coolant does look very dirty. That's it. When you take it off, this is the nut, and it has a little washer right here. Usually that washer get brittle, and you want to replace that washer. Okay, so I have washer here. I'm going to put it because that washer, if you don't replace it, it might get brittle, more and more brittle, and break and cause leaks. You don't want that. So it's good to change the washer when you're already changing the coolant. This bike has about 50,000 miles, so that's the reason I'm changing the coolant. I think they recommend 20 or 30,000 miles you can change the coolant, so if I change now, it should be good for a few more years. Yeah, so that I'm gonna change it, that washer. Well, that's how it looks with the drain plug. You see, it's done. See how nasty it looks. It's toxic. Okay, these coolant are toxic to livestock and animals and humans, so make sure you dispose it properly. All right, it here for now. I'm going to dispose it in a bottle properly. They are like disposal sites that you can go to dispose those. Okay, now it's time to add this mixture into the radiator. I'm going to put the plug back on, and it's good to use I have this long funnel. I'm going to use that funnel because that way, see, it should need to reach all the way down to the radiator. So I'm going to just put it like that. Then I'm going to put the plug back on. At the end, I'll change the washer before all the whole process is finished. after the whole process is finished. So I'm gonna put the drain thing on. There we go. All right. Alright, so that's, I put the drain plug on, back on. See, and now I can fill. There's my radiator cap. Alright, I'm gonna keep it there. The radiator cap looks good. Yep, it looks good. I have to wipe my hand. I don't want to get coolant all into my skin. Alright, wipe my hand. Alright, make sure you guys put, or you all put, proper protection like gloves and stuff. Alright, okay, so that's where we are at. We're gonna put the mixture of vinegar and distilled water. Let's see. Yeah, it's a good chance it'll get some air, so we had to squeeze the hoses to get the air out. Took half of it. That's good. We'll keep filling until we see the water in the radiator that is full water and vinegar. Until it's full, we keep filling. Okay, it's almost full. All right, just almost full there. Okay, so yeah, almost took how much it came out, right? That much came out, and we put that much, almost that much of vinegar mixed with distilled water. Okay, so that should be, you see, it's full. That should be good. Let's see if the overflow is coming out. Okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a hose in there, pump some more water, and that'll make the coolant come out. Or I can use that to suck it out. Either way, I'm going to empty that reservoir out as well. Okay. Okay. So far, so good. cap is on. Just going to run for a few minutes so that the vinegar and the water mixture will get circulated into the radiator and parts, and then what the solution of vinegar and water does is that the vinegar is will take the any impurities that are in the radiator elements. It will clean it out. Since vinegar is acidic in nature, it will clean it out. Once the vinegar solution is all drained out, you have to rinse few times with clean water. That means you have to do the same procedure with clean water. Once you do the same procedure with clean water, like rinse all the vinegar and vinegar solution out, and then you refill with clean water, like clean RO water or distilled water, and then let the bike run again, and then drain it. You can do like a couple of times like that, so all the vinegar solution comes out. You don't want that to stay in the system. It comes out. Okay, that's how you do it. It works very well. So we're gonna keep it running for until it gets really hot, in the sense until the engine thermostats open up and the coolants or the coolant which is for now is vinegar solution gets completely circulated into the system. Until then we'll run it about 3 minutes to 5 minutes. 3 to 5 minutes should be good enough. enough. About 3 to 4 minutes now should be good enough. Right, so since it's really hot in there, I'm not going to take the radiator cap off now. I'll make the radiator drain plug a little bit loose, so it's draining out the vinegar solution, and then I'm going to do one more time. I mixed a new batch of vinegar and distilled water. I'm going to do one more time so it'll get really rinsed out. You can see the overflow is also, the coolant start coming out of the overflow because I'm hanging the overflow outside of the tank, reservoir tank or overflow tank. And since it's coming out of the overflow hose, you know the engine was really warmed. That's why it was coming out. And since now I slowly open the drain plug little by little, so it'll drain out slowly because it's hot. And it's dangerous to open that cap because it will just come out because the steam build up, right? Steam in there. so you don't want it to come out that fast. So that's why I'm doing that way, draining out slowly using the drain plug, so I have control. And once it cools down a little bit more, I'm going to open the cap, and I'm going to do the whole process one more time with vinegar solution water, and then I'm going to rinse it out with clean water, like clean RO or distilled water. I'm going to clean it, rinse it out a few times so the vinegar solution will be all cleaned out. I'm going to also rinse out, I'm going to suck out all the things that are there in the overflow tank there, and once everything comes out, that should be empty. And once that is empty, I'm going to fill the radiator up, then I'm going to fill this halfway up, and you should be good to go from there. Then it'll be all topped up with brand new coolant, and this is pre-diluted engine coolant, so you don't have to do anything. It's already mixture of 50-50, 50 distilled water and 50% coolant, so you don't have to dilute it, and that's the amount you would need. Okay, that's it. That's the whole process. Okay, good luck. So to do a fast forward, what we did, took the saddle out, which is here, took the two of the nuts out, saddle out, nuts out, and then we shifted the gas tank a little bit back. Make sure you unhook the wire harness, and a little bit, just like 3-4 inches back, maybe 3 to 4 inches back. And because you can't take the whole tank off, you don't have to, right? Because there are 2 lines here, which is the gas lines. I did not want to take it out. Once that is out, you have access to the cap of the radiator. You can loosen the radiator and take the cap out, or loosen the cap and take it out, and then right there you take the shroud of the radiator, which is this. Just 2 nuts and then 2 little plastic things. You take it out. There's nut there, and the plastic things here is squeezable plastic. You just squeeze it push it with a screwdriver and pull it. It'll come out. So 2 nut and 2 plastic kind of rivets. So those are the things that comes out of there. And then the drain plug is there. You make it loosen it and take it off to drain the coolant. Make sure you warm up the engine a little bit so the coolant comes out from the engine and everything out. And then make sure you do the whole process to clean out using some cleaning solution. In our case is vinegar and water mixture, 50-50. You run it a few times after draining the coolant through the engine. So once the engine gets run for 3 to 5 minutes, everything is warmed up, it will flush out all the vinegar, will make sure everything in the radiator and all that will get cleaned out, because there's a lot of accumulation of elements, right, minerals, things like that in the radiator fins and the system. So the vinegar make sure that those things, those sediments will come out. Okay, and that's how you clean up the system. Once everything's cleaned out, you rinse it with clean water a few times, run the engine, rinse it with clean water. Once the water comes really clean, there is no blue or orange coolant left, whatever coolant color you're using, then you're good to go with filling up with the new coolant. Make sure you also empty out the reservoir, if there's any coolant in the reservoir, which is the overfill. I think that's called the overflow, right? In the overflow reservoir right there, which you had to take that plate off, 3 nut with the Allen key. Once you take that out, you'll see the reservoir and the cap. You see the reservoir and the cap. You take that out, should be good to go from there, and you empty that out with a suction device or anything you have, like a little piece of hose, or just put some water in there from the garden hose. It will make sure that flushes out cleanly. Okay, That's how you flush out the reservoir. And then that's it. And then you have brand new coolant, good to go for another 20-30,000 miles, something like that. Please subscribe to our channel. Okay. All right, we got a lot more projects coming up, so if you subscribe, we can do a lot more projects, and you guys can learn, we all can learn a lot more things. Okay.